Good afternoon to you wherever you are, and welcome back to our conversation about blessings or disguises on another beautiful day from Santa Barbara, California. I'm host Bettina Brandt. I offer support to live life more fully with greater purpose, meaning, joy, and fulfillment. The easiest place to find me is BettinaBrandt.site. Joining me today to talk about blessings in disguise, or blessing or disguise, from Sebastopol, California, is Dr. Ofer Zur, founder of the Zur Institute and Project Insights, where he's also director. Dr. Zur is a licensed psychotherapist, ethics consultant, expert witness, teacher, writer, speaker, adventurer, and of course, critical thinker. Welcome, Ofer.
Thank you, Bettina. Thank you so much. I mean, it's like I can't wait to see your coaching practice just ballooning.
Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you. In today's discussion, we're going to talk about occupational versus vocation and calling, the blessings of trauma, 5 types of guilt, and the curse of beauty. So the first topic, Dr. Zur, is occupation versus vocation and calling.
You have a lot to cover, but we know how to do it well. So the difference between vocation and occupation is that vocation is a calling, is what you are meant to do in your life in a big picture, what gives you meaning, what gives you joy, what gives you reason to live. And occupation is what we do to earn money. So you can have your vocation as your occupation, or it can be entirely different. For example, you can write poetry every night and be a waiter in a restaurant, or in the morning. You can help the homeless if this is your calling, 1 or 2 days, and then do something kind of drive Uber. So you can have occupation versus vocation. In my case, it's for me, it's the same. I teach ethics, I teach critical thinking, I teach kind of myth we live by, like somewhat a little bit what we are having here right now. So when I teach ethics or when I try to save the world, for me, it's my occupation and my vocation are the same. So think about kind of how you can combine the two. I have 8 questions for you to find kind of what is your vocation and what is your occupation and how to differentiate it. So 1A is what you are good at, kind of identify your gifts, your talents, your ability to excel. 1B is what you are not good at. So create a junction here about what you're good at and what you are not good at. Number 2A is what give you joy, what give you delight, what give you pleasure. On the other hand, you need to identify what do you hate to do, what depletes you, what you really make you angry or you don't want to do. 3A will be what are you disciplined at? What you really thrive and looking forward and stick with that. And 3B will be what activities you try to avoid. What do you try kind of to do the minimum of? What do you procrastinate? And the last duality kind of question is 4A. What do you think the world needs? What do you think that your community needs? What do you think that something beyond yourself, what is a need in the world? And then 4B will be, in your opinion, what the world need less of, in your subjective opinion. So you'll be able to listen to this recording again and ask yourself these 8 questions, and that will help you identify what is your calling. What do you think, Benita? How does it come across?
Excellent. It sounds very much like the model of Ikigai, which includes reviewing what your passions are, your mission, vocation, profession. So what you love and what brings joy, what you're good at and what you excel in, what the world needs and what you can be paid for, and what you value and what the world needs.
What about you? I mean, is coaching feel like you calling?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
So
Um,
you are good at that, and the world needs it. This is kind of the way you look at that.
it seems like now more than ever, we need a little bit more support on a personal level, don't you think? A little more guidance and support.
Yeah, we do need support to follow our calling. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's, I hope, what we have here.
Yes. Yes. So the next topic is the blessings of trauma.
That's kind of complex one. We tend to think about trauma as something completely negative to be avoided at all cost. But what I'm inviting the listening, the viewer here, the way you and I talked for a long time, that kind of we want to embrace the trauma. A kind of trauma is an underappreciated idea in this culture. So in order to grow, in order to develop, in order to expand, we need to be able to endure adversity and to endure trauma. So growth and development are often tied to our capacity to look at the blessing of trauma. For me, for example, being the traumatic injuries that I got in the war, it woke me up to see that I didn't believe in this war. And as a result, I left my country. And as a result, I am working with you, Bettina, right now, years later, about, so it's kind of, there was a trauma, extreme trauma. And on the other hand, it's a kind of also, it was incredible sense of growth since then. So sometimes we kind of embracing the trauma, it's a unleash kind of a lot of creativity and hidden capacity that we have. Also, we know from research in psychology and sociology and many other things, people who suffered through severe trauma, whether it's a war battle, whether it's even rape, concentration camp, or traumatic personal losses, and they embrace it and learn from that, they become much stronger and more creative in their future life. So the invitation to the listener, to the viewer, is look at your trauma and to say, what is it that God or the Spirit, whatever you believe, sent it my way to learn from? And you had your own trauma that you have learned from as well. Bettina, tell us a little bit your thoughts about the topic.
Well, I was going to ask if what you're doing today is due to some of the trauma that you've experienced in your life. Would you say that's how you ended up doing the work that you do?
Absolutely. And the same to you.
Mm-hmm.
The same to you. You went through a traumatic and you overcame them to be able to be a coach and to help people overcome their trauma.
Mm-hmm. So I would say the blessings in trauma would be the resilience that we gain, the perspective and the priorities being reassessed
Beautiful.
in our lives, building our capacity for empathy and compassion, personal growth.
And strength, the way you and I talked. Yeah.
Yeah, strength in vulnerability.
Yeah. It goes together. Acknowledge our vulnerability, give us strength. Beautifully said. Yeah.
Spiritual growth and being empowered to share your story and the things that you learned with other people who go through similar things.
You know, whether I got a heart attack, you know, and it was scary, but coming back from the heart attack and me going on Kilimanjaro, going to the Himalaya, give me like a double strength to go with my two kids into the desert on motorcycles. So the heart attack was as traumatic, and I was 92 seconds flatline. So kind of, it was really traumatic, but it makes me more connected to life. And you have your own kind of trauma, a little bit less bombastic than mine, but you have your own, which is sometimes kind of even harder than what I went through.
So that will bring us to the third topic, which
Wow, we are moving really fast today. That's good.
are we? We can stay. We can stay on these topics.
No.
There is so much blessing to be found in the pains of living and in life, whether it's our own trauma or what we witness through other people's experiences.
Yeah, go ahead. The next one is really, I love it. It's kind of, go ahead.
So the next are 5 types of guilt. Blessings found, well, my end are the blessings that we find in those five types of guilt. But what are the 5 types of guilt?
So the first one, we'll talk about appropriate guilt. Then we'll talk about what we call sometimes Catholic guilt or religious type guilt. Then we have survival guilt. Then we have neurotic or toxic guilt. And then we have existential guilt. So we'll go one at a time. This is the appropriate guilt. Number one is a guilt that is appropriate in a way that we regret what we now understand and acknowledge is that we have done wrongly. So we are reflective and acknowledging that we have done something wrong. I don't know, when I was in the army and 4 of us were in a bunker and I didn't want to get up and turn the light off, I shot the light bulb with my handgun. Mm-hmm. And the bullet just went like this in the bunker. I could have killed some of my fellow officers. And I feel guilty about doing it. It's like they were more than upset. There was under fire suddenly at 10 o'clock at night because we wanted to turn the light off. It was really stupid. I was young. I was kind of reckless in many ways. So this is something I feel kind of, I feel guilty about joining a war that I didn't believe in. So I felt so guilty the moment I got hurt in the war. I told myself I deserve it. This is how bad I felt being in a war that was not really my war and not something that I believe in. So then we move to the second one, to the Catholic guilt or religious guilt that I mentioned earlier. And this is a guilt that you don't differentiate your thoughts from your action. And other Christian denomination believe in that. The Jewish Orthodox people believe in that as well. So it's not only Catholic guilt, but Catholic kind of carry this notion strongly. So you think about you're married and you think about having sex with this gorgeous man or gorgeous woman, and you feel guilty about the thought, even though you did not act anything in an immoral way. Or you think about robbing a bank because you feel so poor, or you feel like hurting the driver who cut you, even though you slow down and you don't do anything like that. So Catholic guilt is when we don't separate thoughts from action. And it's very, very important to be able to do that. So when I have a thought that's kind of, I want to hurt somebody, I want to something to get away with something, I notice it and try to see, what does it mean for me? Where does it come from? Where am I yearning? What's in me is furious. So Catholic guilt is very, very common and need to be really, we need to pay a lot of attention when we feel guilty for thoughts while we did not act in any way. And then we have a third type of guilt is survivor guilt. Like, let's say that you have been in a car accident and somebody got terribly injured, or in a boat accident and some people drown, and you feel the survivor guilt. It's not good or bad. It's very common. Your sibling got hurt, or whatever it is that can happen around you, and you feel kind of survivor guilt that you did not get hurt, you did not die. So it's something to notice, not to start punishing yourself, and not to start kind of feeling super depressed because of the guilt, but you can mourn if somebody really died or got hurt in an accident. But to notice that you feel that you survived it, create some kind of discomfort or guilt within you. I have definitely felt a lot of this kind of survival guilt, definitely with fellow soldiers in the army. It's very common that happens like that. It happens sometimes if one child is abused and the other one isn't abused. There is kind of sense of guilt as well. So think about kind of what are your survival guilt and kind of reduce the suffering by naming it correctly. It's not that you did anything bad, like number one, appropriate guilt. It's like you survived, and that can cause you a sense of survival guilt. And then we have the number four guilt is neurotic guilt. It's kind of where you don't feel as a good person. You feel kind of guilty for existing. There's some overlap between the different type of guilt, but this is kind of neurotic or toxic guilt. It's like I need to be punished.
So would you say it's shame?
Its shame would be and also it ties to the kind of the Catholic guilt of kind of a little bit closer to what my thoughts can cause me guilty. But it's shame. Both shame belong in these two type of something. So this is not something that I've been really good at, so I cannot give you kind of good example with that. And the last one is existential guilt, and this is kind of a free-floating anxiety about the injustices of the world. So I hear about coronavirus in Africa and how many people died, and I feel guilty because I did not suffer from that. So, or how many people starving in Africa, or all kind of things, or in the Far East, whatever it is, that kind of existential guilt that we feel guilty, or we feel bad, or we feel we don't do enough for the suffering in the world. This is called existential guilt. And you'll be able to go back and listen to this kind of, and they'll get something in writing of that as well, Bettina? There'll be a written thing connected to this video, or not necessarily?
We will have links attached to each topic. So yes.
So this would be important as well. Kind of look and try to see what kind of guilt you feel. And is there some guilt that you need to do something, like number one, appropriate guilt that you need to change? And I've shaped my life around it. Learn from what I feel appropriate guilty, and to separate it from what kind of just in my neurotic mind.
And in recognizing the blessings in the guilt, while guilt's generally considered a negative emotion, it can also offer some positive aspects and blessings in different forms, right?
It can be both. We can learn from it, but we also can know how not to embrace it. So it can go both ways, because some of it is neurotic, will be kind of that we don't want to embrace, like survival guilt.
Well, we might recognize a heightened sense of empathy and compassion from survival guilt, right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
And maybe participate in more charitable causes and things like that.
Yeah. So consciousness is feeling even the neurotic guilt about what happened in Africa may cause me to donate, or even to go there and to help, but not just to take it to yourself, something bad. I'm bad. And I'm guilty.
All right. So would you say we should move on to the fourth?
We can. Wow, we are moving in fantastic speed here. Thank you so much, Bettina. You're incredible. Okay. The next one.
To close out, though, I would say in all cases, guilt can serve as a reminder of a shared humanity and moral conscience, like you said, right?
Beautiful.
And prompt us to be more mindful of our emotions, or actions, actually, and their impact on others, ultimately contributing to personal and collective growth.
I couldn't say it better. Thank you.
So number 4, curse of beauty.
Okay, you need to help me here.
I don't think I
can. Is beauty a gift or a curse?
Everything is a gift or a curse.
We live in a world that almost everyone wished to be more beautiful. And however, I worked with models in my practice, and I saw the misery of beauty, where everybody treats you a certain way. They don't think you are smart necessarily. You don't think you are capable. You don't think you're athletic. They relate to your beauty. And then the other huge curse of the beauty, that it's related to the thin industry. You and I talked a lot about it, and how women are trapped with this anorexic look that in this culture is connected to beauty. And hundreds of thousands of women suffer from eating disorder. Not only here, as you really help kind of clarify it with me, that it's also in India, because Hollywood and Bollywood are some of the major forces that shape how men has their own issue with that. We're focusing right now about women in this case. We talk about kind of the non-blessings, the kind of the curse of money too, but that's not really we need to talk about today. But right now we talk about the curse of women's beauty, where you need to keep yourself skinnier than healthy. And Bollywood and Hollywood and the rest of the world embracing, and of course, doctors, plastic surgeons, kind of celebrating every word of that, and the industry, the beauty industry. And you, as a woman, you know about it, because this is what is haunting women now all over the world.
I just learned last night that I guess we knew this before, but I was reminded last night that there's a higher instance of suicide among women who've experienced plastic surgery, for instance.
Yeah,
and
it ties to it's a sense of self, a sense of the body, and it's a ridiculously thinness that you helped me get the visuals of, that we live in a culture of what is considered ideal. No, it's anorexic, it's unhealthy.
Well, thankfully, it's shifting a little bit. It's shifting a little bit now. We're seeing a little bit of a different.
I'm not holding my breath with.
In
I'm
the
not
marketing
holding my breath with the
Agreed.
medical community and the TV. I mean, I wish you were right. But for me to work with these models and to see them not being seen, not being heard, knowing that every half a pound they add may lose some power, and nobody relate to how intelligent and thoughtful they were. It was painful. I learned from my clients so much about it just by listening, because they could open with me and can really share with me. And nobody thought they're smart. Nobody thought they're capable. And there was one yardstick, and women adore them and men adore them, but women were jealous, and men thought they were too much. It's like, who am I?
Yeah,
I'm that beautiful. Who am I? And
then
you, as a woman, experienced it.
How are they able to trust relationships and the intention behind why someone is approaching them? Difficult to discern genuine intentions from other people.
Oh, so true.
Pressures to conform, discrimination and prejudice, because of their appearance,
And I guess all women,
romantic challenges, it's all the same package.
But women has a bigger curse around it, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It seems. I think there's a different level of standard that's acceptable among the appearance of men than there is of women, particularly as they age, although that's shifting just a little bit.
It's shifting very little, but obese man at the 70s, so he's 70, and women still being haunted in the 70 about their body weight and body shape.
Appearance in general.
And skin.
Their value. Yeah, where does their value come from? Yeah.
And this is women who are smart and intelligent and capable and successful, and they're still
challenged.
Yeah. So we call it the curse of beauty. And with the doctors that do the surgeries and Hollywood and Bollywood and all around the world, even in the Middle East, the women who were celebrated for their weight and stuff like that, it's different. Even in the Middle East, it's like, part of Africa or South America, it's changing.
Yep.
And it's against the grain of women and make misery. It's a huge topic.
Envy, being targeted for certain types of, yeah. But then, entitlement and arrogance on the other side, not to look at that person as so much a victim. There are ways that a person's appearance can be abused. They can abuse the power that they have because of their appearance.
Yeah, I let you say that. I wouldn't say that. So.
Yeah, and the special treatment that they might encounter because of how they look.
Yeah, you're right. They got, sometimes gorgeous women get used to that.
Yep.
And it can be disturbing, because become part of the identity as they forget about your athleticism and their intelligence and sensitivity or capacity to love, because identity is so much in your body shape.
And I think that's part of the challenge that comes with aging. Suddenly, for men and women, actually, I know we're talking about women right now, but I've met as many men at that midlife stage as they're getting older who have some perfectionistic tendencies and are challenged by the aging process.
But the research shows, kind of in some regard, that overweight older men in the 60s and 70s are not suffering anything close.
I'm sure the studies tell you that. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we covered a lot. It's like, and again, as a therapist, when I'm encountering bulimia and anorexia, it's how to treat eating disorder. So difficult. You hospitalize these women, and they get coming out, and through this diet and this, that. It's so.
It's an emotional disorder. It's not an eating disorder.
Beautiful said.
Emotional disorder.
Yeah.
So.
But culturally induced and culturally supported, and the way you and I looked at visuals from Vogue and all the other thing. And what was a quote of the quote you showed me?
Oh, I don't remember it. Right now.
Okay.
I wish I'd thought about that. I would have put that in here somewhere.
Yeah, you put it in my slide presentation. Thank you so much.
Well, I guess that wraps it up. Those were fantastic topics that are so universally, understood. Challenges.
How do people get to our first four? Our future fours?
Well, we do have the YouTube channel up, and all of the links are underneath the videos, and the links will be underneath this video as well. Okay. I'll post the link to the last video under this video as well. Okay. So, and this will be shared across different social media platforms, and people will be able to find you at drzur.com, DrOferZour.com. It's underneath.
No, drzur.com.
drzur.com. It's right underneath your picture here on the video, on the recording. Yeah. And people can find me at www.BettinaBrandt.site.
Can you say it slower a little bit?
Bettina Brandt.site. And it is right here underneath our images and across the ticker, and the links will be posted in addition to the topics to your website as well, under this YouTube video. So I thank you so much again. This is fantastic. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're doing such an important work, and your coaching is consistent with this kind of important work and your capacity to help people so beautifully. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time.
Next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.